Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the attic. I've been sitting here for about half an hour waiting for my neighbor to stop mowing his lawn, but don't worry. I've been passing the time trying to remember how much we paid for the tiny chair behind me, which, to my knowledge, neither of my children have ever used because it turns out toddlers rarely say, I don't know about you, but I need to take a load off. Maybe I can get the dog to sit in it. Maybe that would be cute and I could Instagram it, or you could Instagram it. Truth is, I think the chair is useless. Speaking of useless, that whole thing was a segue. The Trump administration understands the importance of testing to safely reopen the economy because they're testing themselves. They just don't care about testing you. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Donald Trump doesn't just lie about the big things, he also lies compulsively about the smallest, dumbest things, like how many people were at his inauguration, or who drew a circle on a hurricane map, or whether he's ever even met Eric and Don Jr. I'm sorry, I'm not acquainted with these two charming business lizards. And the lies about the small stuff are red flags for the lies about the big stuff. For example, Trump visited a Honeywell factory in Arizona Tuesday where they were making masks. You might remember the trip from this indelible image of Trump inspecting the masks while Live and Let Die blasted in the background.
Material that traps the particulates.
My favorite part of that clip is how oblivious Trump is to what's going on around him. He's just nodding and pointing at a mask like a tourist at a museum that's on fire. They say she has that smile because she likes the smell of smoke. But you might notice, based on seeing his whole face, that he is not, in fact, wearing a mask. And yet, when he spoke to reporters on Wednesday, he insisted he did, in fact, wear a mask.
Mr. President, yesterday we went to Arizona, and you had said before the trip that you would likely wear a mask at the mask factory. You ended up not wearing one.
Well, I actually did have one, no. I put a mask on, yeah. I had a mask on for a period of time.
We didn't see you with a mask on.
Well, I can't help it if you didn't see me. I mean, I had a mask on, but I didn't need it. But I did put a mask on, and it was a Honeywell mask, actually. And I also had a 3M mask, and I had about 4 other masks. But I did have it on. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I had it
How
on.
long did you have it on, sir?
Not too long, but I had it on. I had it on backstage.
Okay, first of all, it's a factory. There's not a backstage. Let's give those machines everything they bargained for, boys. Also, to Trump, everything's a beauty pageant. He was probably expecting the machinists to be wearing sashes. Hi, I'm Ted from Tucson, and, well, I guess my talent is making masks. Very good, Ted. Now do a twirl. Okay. And now, can we see the swimsuit portion of the factory? Is that nearby? Second, what do you mean you can't help it if we didn't see you? We saw you. You weren't wearing a mask. You were wearing goggles, which is notable because it's very weird to see a renowned moron like Trump wearing something a scientist wears in a lab. It's like watching a dog use a calculator. Well, there's something much more revealing about this episode than just the fact that the president is a compulsive liar. Trump didn't need to wear a mask because he and all the people around him have been tested for coronavirus, which is obviously quite the luxury, a luxury most Americans don't have. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany was asked why ordinary Americans don't deserve the same access to testing that government officials and corporate executives get, and she mocked the idea of widespread testing as absurd.
She said at Honeywell, the president was told by the folks at Honeywell, as was the team, that they didn't need to wear masks. The reason he was told that was because the people who would be interacting with him had all been tested and had been shown to be negative before that took place. I guess, so the president had those circumstances. Obviously, he's the president. But why shouldn't all Americans who go back to work be able to get a test before they do to feel comfortable in their own work environment to be interacting with other individuals?
Yeah, well, let's dismiss a myth about tests right now. If we tested every single American in this country at this moment, we'd have to retest them an hour later and then an hour later after that, because at any moment you could theoretically contract this virus. So the notion that everyone needs to be tested is just simply nonsensical.
Oh, good point. Maybe we should also stop providing food too, because people will eat a meal and then 4 hours later they're just going to eat another meal. Or under quarantine 20 minutes later. But listen to what she's saying there. She's saying you don't need to be tested to go back to work, but the president and everyone around him need to get tested so he can go back to work safely and freely engage in all his favorite hobbies like shaking hands and touching his face, coughing onto other people, and licking chip dust off doorknobs. Just so many Cheetos. There's some real Cheeto vibe from the doorknob. That's what this is all about. They just want to protect themselves while telling you that you need to be a warrior and get back out there to get the economy going. Virus be damned. They're all Billy Zane from Titanic shoving themselves through the crowd to get onto a lifeboat, while the rest of us float in frigid waters and cling to a door that Rose probably could have let us sit on because, there's clearly enough room. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, is this a business class door? Did you pay for more legroom? No, I'm sorry, Rose, I know. You've been through a lot, but I digress. The point is, they're looking out for themselves, not you. That's why they're testing themselves and stuffing bailout money into the pockets of big corporations and the wealthy. In fact, today, it was reported that the CDC had even written guidelines for safely reopening, but the White House buried them. The Trump administration has shelved the document created by the nation's top disease investigators with step-by-step advice to local authorities on how and when to reopen restaurants and other public places during the still raging coronavirus outbreak. That's right, the CDC wrote a plan for safely reopening the economy, and the Trump administration covered it up. Basically, they did to the CDC plan what Dr. Fauci did to his face during Trump's briefings.
Oh, that's a good idea, Fauci. I didn't know you could use your hand as a mask. Jared, give me a patent for hand masks. That way, the next time Fauci does it, he'll have to pay me. And I can keep making him do it, and he'll keep having to pay me. Oh, we're going to ruin him, Jared. Oh, we're going to ruin Fauci. Oh, hi, Fauci. Oh, we were just talking about you, weren't we, Jared? Jared, I'm winking. Jared.
In fact, Trump even said this week he doesn't think we need that much testing in order to get people back into the workforce safely.
Look, we have so much testing. I don't think you need that kind of testing and that much testing, but some people disagree with me and some people agree with me.
No one agrees with you. I haven't seen one public health official say, you know what, testing is overrated. The importance of widespread testing is like the one thing they all agree on. If you watch the news, you'll hear the word testing enough to have nightmares about being back in high school. Last night, I woke up in a cold sweat and yelled at my wife, "Honey, I'm late for the PSATs. Give me a practice test. I need to cram." Or stuff. It's a synonym. Thanks, Kaplan. Of course, Trump doesn't understand tests because he's never taken one without cheating. In college, he just handed in blank essays with a wad of cash clipped to them and a note that said, "From Fred Trump." So Trump doesn't think we need that much testing, or at least he doesn't think you need that much testing. He and everyone around him, of course, have a completely different standard.
Everybody traveling has been tested. We have great testing, and literally they've been tested over the last hour. And the test result comes back in 5 minutes. We have great testing, or they wouldn't be allowed to travel with me. So they're all tested. Everybody traveling on the plane.
Oh, I see. So ordinary Americans being forced back to work can't get tested, but you and everyone around you can. And look, I get that he's the president. He's going to get tested before everyone else. In fact, depending on what the test is for, I'd be fine with that. I think everyone should have access to COVID tests, but I'd be okay with Trump getting a regular CAT scan before he talks to the press. Mr. President, it looks like you have what we in the medical profession call pancake brain. But the point is not that the president shouldn't get tested. It's that if he wants to force working people back into the economy prematurely in the middle of a deadly pandemic, he should make sure everyone else can get tested too. But Trump doesn't actually care about that. In fact, he went to the Honeywell factory without a mask to create the illusion that everything is fine and we can all get back to normal, because as a showman, there's nothing Trump loves more than a photo op or a prop, like the time he made a big deal of personally redesigning the color scheme of Air Force One. You know, important president stuff, and had a giant model of the new airplane conspicuously placed on a table in the Oval Office during a meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Did you actually have a federal employee make you a toy airplane just so you could show it off to a friend? What's next? You're gonna invite Kim Jong-un over to watch you play Xbox while you eat pizza rolls?
Yeah, it's called Rocket League. Pretty cool. Let you play, but I only have one controller. Mike! We need more Totinos!
But hey, I'm just glad Trump has his priorities in order.
Don't forget, the cupboard was bare. The other administration, the last administration, left us nothing.
You're 3 years into your first term.
Yeah.
You're now applying for the job again. What did you do when you became president to restock those cupboards that you say were bare?
Well, I'll be honest, I have a lot of things going on.
You were playing with a toy airplane. Seriously, how old are you, really? I mean, because your face says 90, but your vocabulary says 9. It's like his body is aging normally, but his brain is Benjamin Buttoning. I mean, experts were warning about a pandemic for years, and your big priority was repainting your airplane. If Trump weren't president, he'd be the dude airbrushing his van down by Daytona Beach during a hurricane. You can just picture him with an earring and a goatee getting interviewed in the local news. "Sir, why are you out here during this deadly storm?"
Well, I gotta finish up the van. I'm putting some privacy beads up in the window so I can catch a snooze. You know, when I'm not selling my trinkets on the pier, do you want a toy airplane? It's also a bong.
And I like that version of him. If in an alternate life, I'm a big fan of that guy. Also, it's not true that the previous administration left the cupboards bare. You're the one who repeatedly proposed cuts to the budgets of agencies like the NIH and CDC, shut down the pandemic planning unit, and ignored a briefing from outgoing Obama officials who tried to prepare you for exactly this kind of scenario before your inauguration. Of course, you couldn't attend that pre-inauguration briefing because you were too busy, awkwardly bobbing your head during a Three Doors Down concert like a dad chaperoning his 14-year-old daughter on a date.
Wow, this band is great. I guess you could say they're my kryptonite.
That, by the way, is a reference to Three Doors Down song for those of you under 40. Well, let's face it, almost all of you over 40 as well. Trump doesn't care or know anything about testing or contact tracing or pandemics. He just loves props and photo ops. That's why another one of his trademark moves is dramatically removing a piece of paper from his coat pocket and showing it off to reporters, whether it's a letter from a foreign leader or a secret trade deal. He's like an old lady who cuts out and mails articles to her grandkids, except he's too cheap to spring for a stamp. At any given time, he's probably toting around like a week's worth of mail. I think he's doing it so if he loses in November, he can say he has civil service protections.
I'm technically a mailman, so you can't fire me without cause.
And this week, Trump has been doing it again. Everywhere he goes, he's been waving around a piece of paper no one can read or vet to support his claim that he's succeeding in ramping up testing for coronavirus.
These numbers were just released, and this is the United States, the amount of testing and our level of testing and the quality of testing. So this is the testing, and the line here is the United States. If we tested as much as these countries down here, okay, who don't do very much testing at all, if I tested this number of people instead of this number of people, I'd have far fewer. If I see, this line goes all the way up, over 7 million tests.
No one can see or read what you're holding. Even the anchor can't read it. He's sitting more than 6 feet away from you. Of course, he's probably practicing social distancing, although it's also possible that's one of the conditions of Trump's work release. Donald, your probation requires you to stay at least 6 feet away from everyone at all times, or your ankle monitor will go off.
Oh, I thought that noise meant the Totinos were done. What a double burn for me. No pizza rolls, and I'm violating probation. Double burn.
Of course, in reality, waving around a piece of paper means nothing. The fact is, Trump's deadly incompetence has made us the global epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak, while other major developed countries have managed to suppress the virus and safely reopen. And that failure is also due in large part to his translucent son-in-law, Jared Kushner, seen here showing off his resting "the dean will hear about this" face. Kushner led a volunteer task force to oversee the White House coronavirus response, and it turns out, wait for it, was amazing and did an incredible job that impressed public health experts across the political spectrum, and I'm just with you, it was a disaster. For example, the task force was charged with securing protective equipment for hospitals, but according to the New York Times, few of the leads panned out. They used personal Gmail accounts, prompting suspicion from some prospective suppliers and brokers who questioned their bona fides. That's right, they were emailing people from personal Gmail accounts trying to buy masks and ventilators. It's like they designed these emails to go directly to spam. Did their emails ask for ventilators and also offer suppliers to help meet hot, horny singles in your area? Don't accept the false dichotomy between staying locked down and reopening the economy. There's a third option where we can safely reopen and involves doing exactly what Trump and his allies are doing for themselves. Widespread testing. But Trump and his allies are only interested in protecting themselves while they use you as cannon fodder to rev up the economy. If you believe Trump or his toadies were ever really populist champions of the working class, it's only because he tricked you. I guess you could say he's
Had a mask on for a period of time.
This has been a closer. Instagram it. Dog in a chair. Instagram it. This has been a closer look. Once again, we're asking you to help City Harvest. You may have donated already, but more and more New Yorkers are turning to them to keep food on their tables. So please give if you can. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe. Wash your hands. We love you.